how do you see technology playing into the future of Stuckey's, maybe some of your future plans and so forth?
Manufacturing is a big part of it. As we grow, I want to see more of my team, our team. We are really focused on
Welcome back to Emphasis Tech Talks, the podcast for business leaders leveraging cutting-edge technology to raise their bottom lines. I'm your host, David Clausen of Emphasis Tech. Our guest today is Stephanie Stuckey of Stuckey's. Stephanie is leveraging technology to help revitalize the brand and increase their bottom line. She will share their journey to consolidate multiple businesses as well as personnel challenges. Stephanie, thanks for joining us today. Of the famous Stuckey's restaurants or convenience stores, Stephanie, how do you refer to that? Do you consider yourself a restaurant or a convenience store, or how do you refer to your
snack and candy company? Yes, we're reinventing the brand. So our history is definitely that of being a roadside retail chain on America's highways, but we are reinventing the brand as a pecan snack and candy company.
Awesome. Yeah. I have such fond memories as a child. My father was in the Air Force and later retired from the Air Force, and we traveled across the country for family and then for his work as well. And so I remember stopping at Stuckey's often. We would look for the Stuckey sign is what we would do. So we loved going.
I hear from a lot of military families who share their stories of being on the road because they traveled a lot. So we're very appreciative of America's men and women in the armed services because that's a core part of our business. And to this day they are. We just got in the Navy exchange stores last year, and hopefully the Army will be following suit.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Right.
The procurement director for the Army is listening. We want to be in your stores.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll try to get that to the chief of staff there.
Work on that.
Make it happen.
I'll give you a commission.
All right. There you go. Well, hey, so our audience is keyed in on technology and using technology, leveraging technology for the business. And so, that's why we wanted to talk to you today. I know that you've been making a lot of changes, as you just said, making a lot of improvements to the brand. And so we want to talk to you about those challenges. And we might just start this way. So of all of the things that you've had to do over the last few years in bringing back the Stuckey brand, how have you used technology to overcome a challenge? What's been a big challenge where you use technology to overcome that?
So many ways. Technology is critical to bringing this nostalgic brand into the present day. We were founded in 1937 during the Great Depression, so technology was very limited back then. And very long story about our family history short is my grandfather sold the company in the 1960s, and what followed was decades of outside management and frankly mismanagement. So 4 years ago, I had the unexpected opportunity to buy the company and bring it back to life in a new and different way. And technology has been core to it. I'll give one example. We have a distribution center. When I first bought the company, we rented the distribution center. And in the past 3 years, we bought a manufacturing facility. And a year ago, we added the distribution center to that manufacturing center. So everything was on site. Before that, the distribution center was an hour away. It was very inefficient. We had been keeping track of our inventory by hand. Once a year, we do a by hand count. And of course, we knew we sold X amount, blah, 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 but there was no real time inventory to track what's on our shelves in our DC, in our distribution center. So we now have scanning technology. Of course, we had to train our team. So that's the critical thing about technology, at least for us. You can't just buy the technology or add it to what you're doing, but then you have to train the team so that they use it and they embrace it, because it's only as good as its implementation. So we had to train up a team, we had to hire people. And the great thing is, we've been able to hire in Rennes, Georgia, population 2,900. A lot of our team does not have college degrees or even a vo-tech degree, but we can train people up with a high school diploma or a GED and teach them how to use a forklift, how to use scanning technology, how to use computer systems, and it's working. So now we have the scanning technology, we have real-time inventory, we're able to track where our products are, and it's been a game changer for us. We're just so much more efficient as a result.
Yeah, having a a handle on your inventory is critical. You know, that's always been kind of the uh, that golden rule, or that just must have for retail of all types. So certainly get that.
Being vertically integrated, that's been a key part. So we're trying as much as possible to consolidate our operations, which is part of technology. Technology is systems as well. So are we being the most efficient with the assets we have?
Yeah, perfect. So obviously you've been making a lot of investment, both in your people and in the technology. That's awesome. And are you are you able to see that in your uh, metrics that you're following, that is now adding to your bottom line or improving the bottom line, these efficiencies that you're gaining through technology and the training processes that you're going through?
Absolutely. And I know you've got a lot of techies who listen to your show. So we're always looking to improve. How do you actually track the ROI on some of this? Like, how do you track the ROI on the fact that we now have some of the most advanced forklifts around? And so we're faster at how quickly we can get product off the shelves and into the packing area and onto the pallet and wrapped on the pallet. And so all those efficiencies, sometimes it is very hard to track, but we are seeing it because our bottom line is better. One of the biggest changes for us has been consolidating our financial software, because we had a company, Stuckey's. I merged a business with my business partner, Front Porch Pecans. Then we bought Atwell Pecans. Atwell Pecans had three businesses under them: the Orchards Gourmet, Atwell Pecans, and Tim's, which was a fundraising business. And so five different corporate entities, each with a different financial accounting system. And one of them had their financial accounting system was a ledger and pencil. Swear to God. So that has been a Herculean task. And not, stage one was getting everything consolidated. So we had to hire outside people to manage that process for us. But now training up the team, it's stage two. It's hard. Yeah, I think we're seeing an ROI. We're constantly evaluating how we can be more efficient.
Awesome. Yeah. So, wow, that's quite the story of how technology has helped improve. Um, and, a lot of people think that all businesses are technology advanced. Um, but there's a lot out there that are not, and there's still a lot of sneakernet things that are going on. You know, keeping the paper ledgers and things of that nature, or the famous one that we run into a lot is where different areas of a business may be keeping all or the most critical of their data anyway on a spreadsheet somewhere, and that way, and you can't get to it from the at the corporate level, and it becomes hard to incorporate that into your overall landscape of data and all the matrix that you're trying to bring forth, right?
Can I add some on that? That triggered something like, frankly, a bad memory, like PTSD on this one. So when you change a company, and that's really what we've done, we have revived this brand, and we had to figure out, what is it that we do really well, what are we passionate about, and what can we make money at? And the intersection of those three things has been our focus now as we're in manufacturing, and we make the most delicious pecan snacks and candies you'll find anywhere. That's how we're reviving the brand. So part of that is we have to get the team that was used to a different model, which was a franchise model of stores that we didn't own or operate, that was sadly losing money. So in that process, I'm going to be real, when you change direction of a company, not everyone's going to be on board with that. And so we had to change some personnel. And this is a cautionary tale. You let go some personnel, especially if they've been around a long time, and they've been keeping records in file boxes, and only they understand their system, it can be a mess. So now, like, moving forward, we have everything on a cloud, and there's a shared drive, and God forbid somebody gets let go, or, I think we've got a really solid team now. So hopefully that's not going to happen, or somebody moves on. We really feel confident about the team we have in place. But somebody gets hit by a bus, right? The hit by a bus, then
It can be a risk mitigation factor, right? You gotta
100%.
you gotta be able to protect your organization, not only from a profit perspective, but you've got a number of people working for you, and their livelihoods depend on it, and so any of the business owners out there that have any staff to speak of are going to understand that.
Yeah.
And so you need to be able to do that. And that's where, sometimes you think you're getting away with something by letting, the low tech solution be your go-to answer. And, someday there's a probability that that's going to end up, biting you. Right. So, I hear you. I think that's a great caution that you know we should all adhere to and understand that sometimes those are things that we don't want to do, but we really need to do for the betterment of our business, right?
Well, here's the question. You mentioned low tech, like the low tech solution isn't always the right way, but I think a lot of businesses, and I consider Stuckey's a small business. We've grown in sales in the past few years from 2.9 to 14 million. So I'm very proud of that, but we're still a small business. I mean, 14 million is considered small, and we've got 75 employees, and we can't always afford the most high tech solution. But as much as possible, we invest in the future. And what I've seen, I'm interested in your perspective on this, is that we can buy some really good quality technological solutions, but there's different levels of membership or subscription. So we could buy the entry level subscription, which will enable us to work up to the premium business subscription. So we're learning, we're getting a system in place that is top quality, but we don't exactly have the budget right away. So, like, for example, we use HubSpot as our CRM to manage our customer relation, right? And we've got the very bare bones entry level, but we aspire to having a more sophisticated level as we grow the company. I mean, what are your? I know I'm the interviewee, but I'm always learning. I like to be a learn-it-all. So
Well, no, that's all right.
perspectives, like what's
Yeah, I
a hack
appreciate the
for a
question.
company? Yeah,
Yeah, so we often would refer to that as, do you want it gold plated or not? Right. So often you can get a good enough solution, as you're suggesting, at some of these lower rates and so forth, um, and not having to expend the money for the quote unquote gold plated version. Um, and so I think that's great. I mean, you don't want to spend money that you don't have to. And you want to make sure, as you said earlier, make sure you're getting the ROI on those expenditures. So that's fine. Often, where I see the differentiator is more about the security around that product. So the thing there being, um, so I often see businesses where they share one ID, one login for an application with a single password and 20 and 30 people have it. And yeah, at that moment, they're only paying, a few dollars a month, and they feel really good about that. And it might cost them, 3 times that to go and go to the next level where they can have 4 or 5, 6 users, whatever. Um, and that becomes problematic as you see, as you talked about before, your staff, some staff's going to migrate, move around, they're going to win the lottery, whatever happens, that they move on, and you end up with risk because then you don't get around to changing those passwords and so forth. So that's kind of the differentiator that I look for is what is the least amount of cost? What brings me all of the functionality that I need, not want, but need, and still provides me the ability to secure it in such a way that we don't lose data or we don't end up with um, any kind of risk there from a just a user login kind of perspective. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, like don't overlap the user login, which we actually don't do. We have individual logins and the basic package. For example, with our inventory management system, it was 6 scanners. So if we wanted to go beyond that, we had to up the subscription. And it was a significant up. It was like 20K because it was like a whole suite of upgrades that you would get at that higher level. So we just kept it to 6 users for the first year, and now we're reevaluating if we want to add new users. But we don't have the same employees using several logins.
Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, that's a best practice is to not do that. But I do see that quite often. So that would be a differentiator. What was so you talked about how you overcame challenges with the technology, and you just went through this huge migration and integrating of systems. What was one of the biggest challenges that you had with that, and how did you overcome it?
It's the people part. I think the technology part is so much easier. Even though I don't consider myself this super tech savvy person, it is part of the job. Like you absolutely have to figure out the technology if you want to have a company that is profitable and going to expand this day and age. But it's bringing along the team. It's user error. That to me is the problem. And technology isn't perfect, but most of the technological solutions we've employed have by and large been very efficient and well run. And it's just getting our team trained in how to use it. And also, a lot of these packages are customized. So, for example, we use Business Central, where you've got the basic software, but then you have to customize it to make sure that it is suited to a candy company and that we've got all the fields that we need to be effective. And I think the other thing which we've been bumping up against recently is make sure you understand not only the full capacity of the equipment you're buying or the technology you're buying, because I think too often you buy it and then you don't fully utilize it. So that gets to the user training. Like make sure if we're investing in Business Central, we are 100% using all its functionality. So that gets to we're about to invest in some training on Business Central to do just that. But the other thing that I've learned is to understand the limitations. So frankly, we have been using Business Central sort of as a jerry rig to manage customer relations as our CRM. It's not a lead generator. It's not a CRM. HubSpot is. And so we're going to start transitioning to using HubSpot as a CRM. But right now, for example, I'm doing a trade show in Orlando, Florida, and I want to know where are all our customers in Florida. So we're pulling that up in Business Central. It will get me the data I need, but it's clunky. It doesn't manage leads. It doesn't manage the status of leads, right? So that is where you need the more sophisticated technology. So I think it's also understanding what can the technology do, fully utilize that, and then what can it do, and then make sure you're coming up with another solution. The hardest part I've seen, not only in the training the people, but the scaling, because as you scale, your technology needs are going to expand. And so you need to understand, when are you at the point when you're bumping up against the limitations of what your technology can do for you. So we are now bumping up against the limitations of what Business Central can do for us. It's not a lead generator. So we need to look at some other solutions. Well, we've decided on HubSpot. So now we're starting to use that.
Yeah, that's great advice. And that really dovetails really nicely into the question that you had for me about, um, you know, how much do you spend, or do you go for the premium level first or not? Is, also, you don't want to be in a position that you're um, not using the best of breed kind of application for the task at hand, because you're going to, as you mentioned, and you've already kind of spoken to a little bit, you're going to end up spending a lot of time and struggling through manual tasks now, because um, you're using a tool that's not what it's really intended for. Can you do it? Probably. Can you make it work? Sure. But it will cost you up front, and then lots of times in the long run too, because you won't have that data necessarily incorporated into your full blown CRM there with HubSpot that's where you want to go with it, right? So
That's a really good point. And we've also, when we're selecting our technology, one of the key criteria we look at is this a company that's going to be around for a long time? So we get pitched all the time from people who say they have a proprietary data software program for us to use, but it's experimental. As much as I like to support other small businesses that are scrappy and trying to make a name for themselves, I don't necessarily want to be the guinea pig when it comes to some new software application. I would be more comfortable with Microsoft because I know we can get the training for it. We know there's a full suite of functions there, and we know it's compatible with the other programs that we're using. You want to be able to have your technology speak to one another, right? Like we use MailChimp. So does MailChimp speak to HubSpot? You want to make sure that all these different solutions that you're out there purchasing, that they integrate and talk to one another. So otherwise it's really hard. So MailChimp, we had to make sure MailChimp aligned with our website. That was the main one, is you had to make sure that it worked with the website technology. So, you know, that was a whole ordeal. What what website technology you use. So
right, right.
we're still working on
Yeah, that's
that. Our website is constantly being upgraded.
right. Yeah. So, man, that's all great advice. We really appreciate you coming on um, and sharing with our audience, because that's the reason we put this channel together, was to help out the different businesses and how they use technology. So, by the way, if you're listening to this video and you haven't subscribed, you need to do that now. Make sure you like the video and share it out. Um, Stephanie here is a great source of information and sharing with us about her experience. So make sure you do that, share it. So let's talk about how the technology and your new vision for the business. I know in our conversation previously, you brought up this new vision of this vertical approach and how technology is playing into that. Um, can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, it's making sure that all the different aspects of our business are talking to one another. So we have a distribution center, we have a manufacturing facility. They're all in the same building, but they're separate divisions, right? And then we have a whole sales rep team that they're out and about, and they're in different states, and they don't go to work at the headquarters, right? And so it's just making sure that all of that technology is integrated where they can communicate with one another, and we're easily tracking what they're doing. And it's a work in progress. We did implement a technology program, and this is actually a new one. So it's a small female led business out of Seattle, Washington. It's called Group It, Groopit. It's an app. You can find their website, and they enable our sales team, especially when they're out looking at our accounts or looking for new accounts that will sell our product, or they see a product when they're visiting stores, they see a product that they think we should look at making ourselves or carrying. The take a photo captures that. So it captures boots on the ground data that people see. And you snap a photo and you upload it. And the great thing is, instead of usually what we were doing is we would text one another. Look at this cool Moon Pie just came out with a banana flavor. Actually, they've had a banana flavor for a long time. But Moon Pie just came out with this cool new flavor. We should think about doing a flavor like this. This is great. And so you snap a photo and you text it to 10 people. And then, like 2 weeks later, it's lost in your text chain. Group It captures that, keeps it, and it categorizes it so you can have competitor product, new product ideas, Stuckey store visits, and anyone that we give access to. And we've got like 16 users right now. So if I'm out at a Piggly Wiggly in Alabama and I see our product on the shelves, I can snap a photo, put it in there, and then our whole team sees what our product looks like at the Piggly Wiggly in Alabama. So it's data share. So that's one of the things we've been dealing with, is getting it vertically integrated. So our distribution team can go on Group It and they can see what the sales reps are doing. Our CEO who's in the office can see what the boots on the ground. So it's trying to integrate so that we know what everyone else is doing, and technology has enabled that.
Well, that's interesting. As you were talking about that, it all of a sudden dawned on me that we've kind of replaced the sticky note with text. I know
Yeah.
we do that as well.
Yeah.
And wow, so now we've kind of regenerated that same problem from sticky notes to text.
Yeah, but too
So
often the texts get lost, right?
right,
And
yeah,
so you
yeah,
want to capture that for a year from now. Let's say, one of the things I do is if I see a chain of stores, and we are very much in the C-store space as well as the grocery space, but if I see a chain of convenience stores that I think look really good and they're clean and they've got a unique vibe to them, I will go in and start taking photos of their nut aisle. Of course, you got to be careful. Sometimes you get in trouble taking photos. I try to be, but I take photos and the interior and the exterior of the building, and I capture that and I say potential new account lead. Sometimes I'll talk to somebody at the store and say, who's your buyer? I'll try to capture some contact information. And it may be a year before we're actually ready to pitch to that store. But let's say it's a store. I was in South Dakota last year and I took photos of stores in South Dakota. Well, if we're pitching to them, we're based in Georgia. We're not going to go back to South Dakota just to get ready for that pitch necessarily. Wait, it's in the Group It app. We can pull it up easily it's just a one-stop shop place where you can capture all that data and you can easily access it whenever you need it.
awesome. Yeah, I like it. That's a great idea. I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, Group It. And I'm not getting a commission or anything. I'm just a happy user. And when they
Yeah, you're
pitched it to me, I was really an early adopter of this technology. So that this is one of the rare cases where we've been an early adopter, but I thought it was so cool. And they have some kinks to work out, which is where your customer service really comes in. If you're in the technology field, customer service is so important. And so we have a standing meeting with them where they help deal with our issues.
Yeah, that's true of most of these little startups. You got to start somewhere. So that's all right. Now, so you talked about being an early adopter. So I got to ask you the future technology question. So how do you see technology playing into the future of Stuckey's? Maybe some of your future plans and so forth. And yeah, just where do you see that
Manufacturing, manufacturing is a big part of it. Is as we grow, I want to see more of my team, our team. We are really focused on how we can be more productive and make more pecan log rolls and more pecan snacks and more pecan candies. And so we are very close to having our plant expansion done. It should happen in the next few months. And that is going to include a really amazing pecan log roll maker. It was custom made for us. And so there's a lot of quality control in the technology, and technology is integral to all of the candy making process.
Making good use of the technology there and doing that in a smart way. I like that. So tell us, you mentioned the different forms of contact. What is the best way for our audience to stay informed about what you're up to and what's happening there at Stuckey's?
Well, I like to meet people where they are. So if you prefer to be on TikTok or you prefer to be on Instagram, reach out to me through whatever platform you prefer. That's why I'm on all of them. And I try very hard to make sure that I put out different content on the different platforms, because the platforms appeal to people in different ways. So to reach out to me, you can message me. You can also go on the Stuckey's website, which is super easy, stuckeys.com. We have a contact form. It's like all websites. You have to scroll way down the bottom where you have the contact us, but there's a form. And if you say, I want Stephanie to see this, I will see it.
All right. Well, good. Well, thank you, Stephanie, for doing this. We really appreciate you taking the time. I know we had some challenges with scheduling and whatnot, but you made the time, and we really appreciate that. Good luck to you and what you're doing there at Stuckey's. And to our audience, be sure to hit that subscribe and to like the video so that you can be informed about the other ones coming out. We got a lot of great content like Stephanie's podcast here today. So everybody take care, and we will see you next time.